Hey guys, this is Shadow Bito here, and this is my entry for aribiterspar's guide competition, and this is my Conquest guide, so I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so requirements for Conquest. Conquest requires, the only requirement it is 40 combat, and you need membership because Conquest is a members game. And note, before we start this guide, I want to say that there's different strategies for each player. The combinations you're going to encounter are endless, and you're not going to be guaranteed victory every time. My strategies will not guarantee victory. They'll help you get started until you develop your own strategies, and most likely you will start winning more often. So what is Conquest? Conquest is a minigame that takes place on the Void Knight Island, where you can command an army of Void Knight troops combined with a selection of spells to defeat all the pieces in your opponent's army. Conquest is very similar to chess in real life. Upon winning a game of Conquest, one will receive Void Knight commendation points, along with having their Conquest ranking go up or down, depending on the outcome of the match. The Conquest ranking system is basically a measure on how good one is at Conquest. It will appear at the top of your screen when you enter the Conquest minigame area. When you win, your rank goes up. When you lose, it goes down. And this is the building where Conquest takes place. So when you enter the building, you can talk to either Captain Ether or Knight Dorian. Knight Dorian will recruit your troops and customize your formation, but I'll get into that later. For both of them, you can also exchange, which is what you'll be doing with your Void Knight commendation points. You can head downstairs to the Conquest area. The Conquest area is where your ranking will appear, and you should only head this way. And there'll be two rooms, and that's the auto-matching barrier and the challenge barrier. The auto-matching barrier is basically where you'll walk in and you'll be auto-matched into a game of Conquest with whoever else is in there, and I think it matches you by your rank. You'll have to check me on that one. And the challenge barrier is basically where you will walk in here, and there'll be other players waiting here, and you can check their ranking, and you can click and challenge them. You get to choose who you face. Alright, so now we're going to get into more of the gameplay of Conquest. So as I told you about before, you see the recruit and formation here. This is where you can recruit your troops. And you start out with 1,000 squad resources with no troops and no commands. So you basically have 1,000 resources to select your troops and your commands. And you don't get more as time goes on. This is the limit, and so you have to create a formation within those boundaries. And also, formation allows you to customize where your pieces are. And I don't have any pieces right now, but if I put a piece on, then, like for example, if I put a scout on, then I go to formation, my scout will be here, and I can move it wherever I want, and that's where it will start, at the start of a Conquest game. So now I'm going to be getting into every troop, and every troop has movement, damage, health, range, and cost. And the cost is on those 1,000 squad resources, how much it costs. The range is how many spaces it can get away from. Damage and health are self-explanatory. And movement is how many spaces it can move. So the scout, our first piece, has the cheapest cost of only 25 squad resources. It can hit from one space away. It has damage and health of 100 each. And it can move 6 spaces. Alright, so our next piece is the foot soldier. And these guys have a cost of 50, which is still pretty cheap. They can hit from one space away. They got a movement of 4, which is pretty much the same as most other melee pieces in Conquest. They have a damage of 100, and they have a health of 300, which is pretty good for only costing 50 squad resources. Next is one of my favorite, the halberders, and they also have a movement of 4. They have a damage of 200, they have a health of 200, and they have a range of 2, which means they can hit from 2 spaces away. They don't have to be next to another piece in order to attack. And they have a cost of 75. And one thing I forgot to mention was that when you attack a piece in Conquest, it will attack you back if it's not killed. So a halberdier has an advantage over other melee pieces because it can attack from a space away. Then some of the pieces won't be able to attack it back because they can't reach the halberdier. Our next piece is the mage. It's our first non-melee piece. It still has a movement of 4. It has a damage of 200 and a health of only 100. It has a range of 4, which means it can hit from 4 spaces away, but it has a semi-high cost of 100. And combined with the movement and range, a piece would have to stay at least 8 spaces away from the mage in order to avoid being hit. The next piece, my personal favorite piece, is the archers. And these archers are really good because they have the most technical range in the whole game. They only have a movement of 3, but they have a range of 6, which means a piece has to stay more than 9 spaces away to avoid being hit by an archer. They don't have as much damage as the mage, they only have 100 damage, but they still have the same amount of health, which is 100, and they cost the same, which is 100. So I would recommend using archers if you're learning Conquest, because the most important thing in Conquest is to be able to memorize the piece's movements and ranges, so you can kind of predict what your enemy's going to do. And archers are really helpful for that. Alright, our next piece is the knight. These guys have a movement of 4. They have a damage and health of 300 each. They have a range of 1, and they have the same cost as the mage in range, which is 100. And so these guys are pretty good for only costing 100 points because they have a significantly high damage and health compared to the previous pieces we've seen so far. Our last piece is the champion. The champion has a movement of 4, and a damage of 400 and a health of 500, which is much greater than any piece we've seen so far. Jagex actually made an update to lower the health and damage each by 100, as they used to be 500 damage and 600 health because they were so overpowered. They have a range of 1 still, and the cost is 200, which is a lot more than we've seen so far. The game of Conquest actually revolves a lot around champions. So troops aren't the only important thing in Conquest. They're also spells, and spells you can use them on your pieces to leave your opponent confused and wondering what happened. Each spell has a cooldown time and a cost, just like troops. So there are 2 spells I've seen that almost every single player has in Conquest, and I would consider them essential to Conquest. The first one is Battle Cry, which has a cooldown of 5 and 5 turns, and a cost of 75 points. You gain 25 points each turn automatically in a game of Conquest. If you kill a piece, you'll also gain however many troop resources it costs. You'll gain that many for killing it. So killing things such as rangers will gain you 100 extra points. After you use Battle Cry, you'll have to wait 5 turns before you can reuse it, and this is the same with any other spell on its cooldown time. So Battle Cry is so great because if you use it on a piece for that 1 turn that you use it on, the piece will gain 200 damage and 200 health until the start of your next turn. So if my champion has 400 damage points, then if I use Battle Cry on it, it will get 600 damage for that turn. So it can one-hit another champion, for example. Also, if your piece isn't at full health, like let's say my champion's at 300 health, Battle Cry will add 200 health to it, so it will get 500. And as long as it doesn't go over full health, it will permanently heal the champion to 500 health. So Battle Cry can also be used for healing, which is another reason why Battle Cry is so essential. The second essential spell is Charge. Charge doubles your piece's movement for the phase. So when you use Charge on a scout, for example, a scout, instead of only moving 6 spaces, it'll be able to move 12 spaces just for that turn. Charge can be great for surprising your opponent, and it, just like Battle Cry, it has a cooldown of 5 and a cost of 75. The next spell is Chastis. Chastis has a cooldown of 3 and a cost of 50. And when you use Chastis on an opponent's piece, your opponent cannot use that piece for their next turn. So if I use Chastis on your scout, when it goes and I end my turn, on your turn, you will not be able to use your scout. You cannot use Chastis if your opponent has only 1 piece left. The next spell is Vigilance, and Vigilance basically means, well, it has a cooldown of 3, and it has a cost of 50. And you know how I told you before how if you attack a piece, it will attack you back if you don't kill it? Well, Vigilance makes it so that if you use it on your piece, and if your opponent attacks you, your piece will attack your opponent first, and your opponent will be damaged or killed before they can attack or kill you. So it's very helpful if you're playing the defensive role. Our next spell is Shield Wall. It has a cooldown of 5 and a cost of 50. And what Shield Wall does is if you use it on your troop, all damage done to your troop on your opponent's next turn will only do 100 damage. So you can't use Shield Wall on a piece like a Scout or an Archer with only 100 life, because they can still kill them. But you can use it on a Champion, for example. So instead of your Champion being killed, it'll only take 100 damage for that turn. Our next spell is Stoicism, and Stoicism has a cooldown of 5 and a cost of 75. And what it does is you can use it on your troop, and your troop will gain 400 health until the start of your next turn. So if you don't want your piece to be killed, you can use Stoicism on it, and it'll gain 400 health points, and your opponent may or may not be able to kill it. And at the start of your next turn, the 400 health points will go away, as the effect is not permanent, and your piece will be returned to its original health. Our next spell is Winds of Fate. It actually only has a cooldown of 2, but a cost of 150. And what Winds of Fate does is, when you use it, a command at random will reach the end of its cooldown period and be ready to use. So what that means is, say you've just used Battle Cry, and it's 5 turns left till you can use it again, and you need to use it very soon, but you have to wait 5 turns to use it. If Battle Cry is your only only command that's in its cooldown time, you can use Winds of Fate, and your Battle Cry will reach back and be ready to use. Its cooldown time will be cut to 0. However, if you have more than one spell in cooldown time, then Winds of Fate will make the spell that reaches the end of its cooldown time random, and you cannot control it. Alright, so the next spell is a little bit easier to understand. It has a cooldown of 4, a cost of 150, and it basically heals your troop back to full health. So if your troop's damaged and you want to heal it so it doesn't die, you use Regenerate and it'll be back to full health. I wouldn't suggest using Regenerate on any piece except for champions and maybe knights, because the other pieces have lower health and it's not really worth it. It's mainly used on the champion. And our last spell, costing 200 but only having a cooldown of 2, is Bombard. Bombard basically does 100 damage to any piece that you use the spell on, and it can also kill pieces with only 100 life. So you can use Bombard on an archer and the archer will die. However, you will not be granted any command points when you kill it. So when you kill other pieces with your piece, you get 100 points for, say, killing an archer with your own piece. But if you use Bombard on an archer, you will not get those 100 points. Alright, so this is just going to be a quick recording of a short Conquest game, and I'm challenging my friend, set the time up to 3 minutes, and it could be regular stake. Here we go. So I'm moving out my scout, but he moves out his powerful knight, so I decide to go behind the barrier to be safe from it. Unfortunately, I forget about its mage's range, 4 and 4, it's able to kill me. So next I decide to move out my archer to get rid of the mage, or try to make an attempt. He moves out his halberdier to counter it, but I move out my archer and I'm able to kill his mage because of my great range. Unfortunately, his halberdier with a movement of 4 and range of 2 is able to reach my archer and kill it. Then I use charge and battle cry, and I'm able to one-hit his knight all the way over there with a 300 damage. And then he bombards me, which doesn't kill me because I'm battle cry on. He does battle cry himself and attacks me, but still doesn't kill me. I use Chastis on him because I don't want him attacking me, and I kill one of the scout. Next, his scout kills me when battle cry wears off, but I got a scout out of it. Move my champion up. He doesn't retreat, but he attacks me with his halberdier since I can't reach him. Unlucky for him, I have Regenerate, heal to full life, and just one hit him, so it won't cause me troubles in the future. He moves out his knight, but foot soldier. He used Stoicism on his foot soldier right there. So I'm hitting him back, but I don't want to hit him because he has 400 extra life. I take him out the next turn though. That was for an example purposes. He's moving out a scout, trying to go for my ranger, I can tell. So I move up my ranger and I kill him. And this is what scouts are useful for, using charge, going all the way down the field, and taking out a ranger or major. Good points too. I only get 25 points from killing that. And next, going to be showing you some champion tricks for the end. He's stalling maybe to get some spells. I move back because I don't know what he has now. He could kill me. He moves back up, so I decide to move back up. Also because this is a test game. And he moves to the side, and I'm coming up. And here's his, he uses Bombard, does 100 damage, and is able to one-hit KO me with the 400 right there. And next I use the classic champion KO. Battle cry and charge, go far, one-hit the champion. And that's how a game of Conquest is played.